Hare Krishna. Am I audible?
Yes, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. My patience. Hare Krishna. Let us resume. Starting from 511. Okay. स्वै लीला परिकरे जने दृश्यानि न परे तत्तल्लीलाद्यवसरे प्रादुर्भावोचितानि हि आश्चर्यम् एकदैकत्र वर्तमानान्यपि ध्रुवं परस्परम् असम्पृक्त स्वरूपाण्येव सर्वथा कृष्ण बाल्यादिलीलाभिर्भूषितानि समन्ततः शैलगोष्ठ वनादीनां सन्ति रूपाण्यनेकशः. Amazingly, the mountains, pastures, forests, and other parts of Gokula adorned everywhere with the pastimes Krishna enjoyed in his childhood and youth appear in multiple forms. These malleable features of the land, changeable features of the land, are manifest in a way most suitable for Krishna's particular pastimes and are thus seen only by those who participate in those pastimes. These manifestations sometimes occur concurrently, at the same time, convergently, in the same experience, you can say. And sometimes they remain completely separate from one another. लीलाढ्योऽपि प्रदेशोऽस्य कदाचित् किल कैश्चन शून्य एवेक्ष्यते दृष्टि योगैरप्यपरैरपि. Although this land is filled with Krishna's pastimes, at times it looks vacant to some, even to those fit to see. Interesting point. Certainly to those who do not have the spiritual qualification to see Krishna's abode as it is, Vrajabhumi seems like a wilderness. It seems just like a forest. दृष्टि अयोग्य. अतः प्रभोः प्रियाणां च धाम्नश्च समयस्य च अविच्यत्य प्रभावत्वाद् अत्र किंचन न दुर्घटम्. Thus nothing is impossible for the Supreme Lord. His dear devotees, his abode and his own course of time, they all possess inconceivable power. Krishna's inconceivable potency is the most powerful force in the spiritual and material worlds. She, Krishna's potency, she can make possible what is otherwise impossible, and her influence permeates the transcendental life of Krishna's Dham and the devotees who live there. Evameva Dwarakayam Yeyam Sarvam Chakshane. Learned scholars understand, can understand. Learned scholars understand all this to be true of Dwaraka as well. Yeyam. Learned scholars should understand, can understand that Dwaraka is completely like this. Also, Vrindavan, Mathura, Dwaraka, all of them are like that. Yathaika dashante Dwarakam harinat yaktam samudro bhavayaksha vachayatva maharaj Srimad Bhagavatalayam smritya shesha shubha haram sarvamangala mangalam nityam sannihitas tatra bhagavan madhusudanaha iti. As described in the 11th canto, as soon as the Supreme Personality of Godhead abandoned Dwaraka, the ocean flooded it on all sides, O king, sparing only his palaces. Dwaraka is the most auspicious of all auspicious places. Merely remembering it destroys all contamination. Lord Madhusudana, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is eternally present there. When Krishna built Dwaraka on an island off the coast, he personally asked Mother Earth to temporarily extend herself and displays a portion of the sea surrounding the island. As soon as Krishna finished his manifest pastimes in Dwaraka, the sea reclaimed his land, sparing only his palaces and the residences of the Yadu heroes. These Yadus are also considered Shrimans, supremely opulent, like Krishna himself. Evam bhavodvaravathyam api asti ati dishati. So this inconceivable, the manifestation of Krishna's inconceivable potency that is found in Gokula or in Vraja is also to be found in Dwarvati, Dwaraka. Okay. Athanyad vaibhavam tasya vyaktam Shri Narade Kshaya yatrai kada nana rupa vasarchitrata. Another of Krishna's powerful opulences was revealed when Shri Narada was able to observe him in one place, wonderfully displaying many of his forms, engaged simultaneously in activities that generally occur at different times of the day. As described in Srimad Bhagavatam, one day, Narada visited Krishna in several of his Dwaraka palaces. He found Krishna uniquely present in each palace, engaged in a variety of activities. Some activities of early morning, some of mid-morning, some of noontime, and so on. Narada recognized this amazing simultaneous display as a product of Krishna's Yoga Maya. Now, to understand this, you'll actually have to see. Otherwise, you won't be able to grasp what is being stated there. Keep only translation and purport. Remove chapter description also. So Narada Muni was very much astonished that in a single body, Lord Krishna has simultaneously married 16,000 ladies, each in a separate palace. And he wanted to visit Sri Dwaraka. So Narada Muni, he entered one of these palaces. Srila Jiva Goswami points out that Tvashta Vishwakarma manifested the expertise of the Supreme Lord, and thus he was able to build such exquisite palaces. So then he saw how exquisite, amazing it was. He saw the Lord together with his wife in that particular palace. She was personally serving him, the Supreme Lord. He honored Narada Muni and worshipped him as a Kshatriya would worship the Brahmanas. Then Narada Muni offers various prayers, goes to another palace. So there he saw the Lord playing at dice with his the queen, of course. It's the same Krishna, but each queen is different. So you can only distinguish it by saying another queen. So that palace is the palace of another queen. You cannot say palace of Krishna. Krishna has got 16,100 palaces. So you have to identify by the queen. The previous one was Rukmani's palace. But this is another queen's palace. So here you notice Uddhava was there. Then Krishna, just as if he never saw Narada Muni come in Rukmani's palace, he addressed Narada Muni. Narada Muni was astonished. He silently went to another palace. So there he saw Krishna petting his small children. Notice that his children are small. He's preparing to take bath. So it's morning time there. In one place, the Lord was offering oblations into the sacred fire, sacrificial fires. In another, worshipping through 5 Mahayajnas. in another feeding Brahmanas, and in yet another eating the remnants of food left by the Brahmanas. So the 5 sacrifices are these: reciting the Vedas, offering oblations unto the sacrificial fire, waiting on guests, making offerings to the forefathers, offering a share of one's food to living entities in general. Now, Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur in his commentary on this verse again points out that all of the different times of the day were occurring simultaneously in Lord Krishna's palaces. Let me read it once again. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti again points out that all of the different times of the day were occurring simultaneously in Lord Krishna's palaces. In one palace, it is morning. At the same time, Narada Muni it's not that he's waiting and spending the whole day there. Goes in, comes out. Goes to another one, comes out. Goes to another one, comes out. One place it's morning, another place it's afternoon, another place it's evening, another place it's morning, same day. Thus, Narada saw a fire sacrifice, a morning ritual. And at about the same time, he saw Lord Krishna feeding the Brahmanas and accepting their remnants, a noontime activity. In one palace, it's morning. Another palace, it's noon. At the same time. Somewhere, Lord Krishna was observing the rituals for worship at sunset. In another palace, it's sunset. By refraining from speech and quietly chanting the Gayatri Mantra, and elsewhere, he was moving about with sword and shield in the areas set aside for sport practice. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, the words Sandhyam Upasinam indicate sunset rituals. In one palace, he was engaged in a sunset rituals. It was sunset. Whereas the words Asicharmabhyam Charantam refer to sport practice which takes place at dawn. In another palace, it was dawn, early morning. One place it was sunset, another place it was sunrise, all at the same time. In one place, Lord Gadagraja was riding on horses, elephants, and chariots, and in another place he was resting on his bed while bards recited his glories. Vishwanath Chakravarti points out that riding on horses and elephants is a known activity. So in one palace it was afternoon, noon, whereas one lies down during the latter part of the night. In another place, it was night. Somewhere he was consulting with the royal ministers like Uddhava. Notice Uddhava is here again. Simultaneously. And somewhere else he was enjoying in the water, surrounded by many society girls and other young women. According to Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti, Lord Krishna met with his counselors around dusk. So, meeting with the royal ministers like Uddhava in some palace was around dusk. And enjoying water sports was in the afternoon. So simultaneously in one palace it's dusk, another palace it's afternoon. Somewhere he was giving well-decorated cows to exalted Brahmins. And elsewhere he was listening to the auspicious narration of epic histories and Puranas. Vishwanath Chakravarti informs us that giving cows in charity occurs in the morning, while hearing the histories takes place in the afternoon. Now in the Dharma Shastra, these schedules are already given. This is what you should do at this time, this is what you should do at that time. So corresponding to that only, Vishwanath Chakravarti is deriving this information. This is a morning activity, this is an afternoon activity, this is an evening activity, and so on. Somewhere, Lord Krishna was found enjoying the company of a particular wife by exchanging joking words with her. Somewhere else, he was found engaged along with his wife in religious ritualistic functions. Somewhere, Krishna was found engaged in matters of economic development. And somewhere else, he was found enjoying family life according to the regulative principles of the Shastras. Joking conversations take place during the night time. So in one palace, it was night time. Whereas religious rituals, economic development, and family enjoyment occur during both the day and the night. Whereas some other place is day or night. Somewhere, he was sitting alone, meditating on the Supreme Personality of Godhead who was transcendental to material nature, and somewhere he was rendering menial service to his elders, offering them desirable things and reverential worship. Meditation happens at Brahma Muhurta. He is meditating on himself, he has to meditate on himself. Who else can he meditate on? Rendering menial service to elders, And this is generally a morning activity. We notice in the first canto also, Yudhishthira in the morning when he gets up, he goes to honor, one of the morning activities, he goes to honor Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, and so on. In one place, he was planning battles in consultation with some of his advisors. In another place, he was making peace. Somewhere, Lord Keshava and Lord Balaram were together pondering the welfare of the pious. You can see at different places, he's doing different things, all at the same time. All at the same time. So this is the meaning of Krishna's inconceivable potency. Inconceivable potency. Yeah. Atyadbhutata. This is extremely astonishing. That at ekasmaneva tasmin alaye, at one particular place, ekada yugapaddeva, at the same time itself, Hare Nana Rupani, various forms of Lord Hari, we notice at different times. Nana Vasaraha, Prataha, Mangala, Madhyahana, Adisamaya, various times. So this can be found out from the 10th canto. Baladev Devotion Prabhu says. Prakritebhyo grahebhyo nye Chandra Suryayastu te Leelasthir anubhuyante tathapi prakrita iva. The participants in Krishna's pastimes perceive planets like the sun and moon that are different from their material counterparts but seem just like them. In the material world, the sun, moon, and planets measure time, which rules the course of all events. The sun and moon visible in the Supreme Lord's abode, however, are purely spiritual expansions of his internal potency. The movements of such spiritual planets are not dictated by the strictures of material time. Thus, in Dwaraka, Narada saw different times of day occurring simultaneously, but the arrangement for Gokula is special. There, Krishna's Leela Shakti disguises the supernatural powers of the transcendental sun and moon to protect the simplicity of Krishna's pastimes. In Gokula, time seems to pass in the same order found in the material world. Mano tattat avasara Surya Chandra adi gati ghatitaha techa niyata evasi. But how can you say that time? Now, time is based on the movements of the sun, moon, and such heavenly bodies. They are certainly well regulated. Now, when we talk of different timings are regulated. So how can you say that at one particular time itself, you find an astonishing variety of different timings? The answer to that is this verse. Because Suryadar Rahasya Samayasya Cha Bhagavadatmakatva Tattat Siddhir Iti Bhavaha. The implication is time is controlled by the Supreme Lord. Time, according to the movements of the sun and other heavenly bodies, is fully controlled by the Supreme Lord. Therefore, it is not possible. Iti dhamatraye Krishno viharatyeva sarvada tatrapi gokule tasya madhuri sarvatodhika. In conclusion, Krishna always enjoys his three abodes, but he displays the most excellent sweetness in Gokula. The abodes, associates, and pastimes of Krishna, the original personality of God, are all eternal, but they are most special in Gokula. Aprakrita Suryadi Gati Ghita Api Swa Samaya Vidyayante. Even though there are different timings, each of them by the movement of the transcendental sun and so on. From that we understand that when there are individual timings, Prakashantara Samaya Vidyanasya Rasa Aposhitvena. There are different manifestations. Each manifestation is separate. Where in each manifestation, Krishna is enjoying a particular pastime. Like, for instance, I would say, if you just look at that Dwaraka, Narada Muni visiting, each palace has got its own prakash, its own. It is one manifestation of pastime. Simultaneously, so many things are going on. So there is no knowledge about the time and some other manifestation when you are inside one manifestation, because then you will not be able to nourish, participate in prema bhakti rasa, won't nourish that. Leela shaktya chadana iti bhava. That is because the Supreme Lord's Leela potency covers that. एवं स्वयं भगवन्तं कृष्णं नित्य धामानं नित्य पार्षदं नित्य लीलं च निरूप्य गोकुले तस्य वैशिष्ट्यमाह तत्रापि गोकुले तस्य. So he has ascertained that Krishna is Swayam Bhagavan. He has an eternal abode. He has eternal associates. He engages in eternal pastimes. Nevertheless, he is special in Gokula. Tatrapi Gokule tasya madhuri sarvatodika. तथा च सम्मोहन तंत्रे संतितस्य महाभागा अवतारा सहस्रश तेषां मध्ये अवताराणां बालत्वम् अतिदुर्लभम् इति. Thus the Sammohana Tantra states the Lord has thousands of all auspicious incarnations, but among all these he rarely reveals his childhood. The Sammohana Tantra. Sammohana Tantra. Sammohana Tantra is the reading here. Yes, Sammohana refers here to Krishna's original childhood form as a young boy of the covered community. Narakriti Kishoratvam Goparupyaha. So he has a human-like form and he's a Kishore. Patrakarika Tridha Bhaved Vayobalyam Yauvanam Vridhate Tyapi Varshad Ashodashad Balyam Iti Loke Matantaram. The Karika explaining this, an explanatory verse. There are 3 ages: childhood, youth, and adulthood. One common view sees childhood lasting through the 16th year. And in fact, in India, they refer to young men, young adults, both men and women, as boys and girls. In fact, when they reach 16 also, they simply refer to them as boys and girls. In general, there is that idea that you are sufficiently mature when you are 50 or so, only then do you think like that. I myself have met an elderly Gaudiya Vaishnava many years back, and he was talking. He was connected to ISKCON at one point, and he was talking to a friend of mine. He was also at that time 43. I think I was also 43 or 44. And when this elderly devotee, who was maybe 70 years old, more than that, and while he was speaking, somehow this devotee had interrupted by saying something. He became annoyed. That elderly Vaishnava became annoyed. He said, "Why are you interrupting me? You're just a small kid. What's your age?" He said, "I'm 43. Is that an age? Insignificant age. Negligibly. Small kid in front of us." And we understood. So that conception is there. तथा च ब्रह्मांडे सन्ति भूरीणि रूपाणि मम पूर्णानि षड्गुणैः भवेयुस्तानि तुल्यानि न मया गोपरूपिणा इति. There is also this statement in the Brahmanda Purana. I have many forms, all of them full in the 6 qualities of God, but none of them equal my form as a cowherd. Ityatraiva mahamantra mahamahatmya mandita dasharnadya bahutantreshu kirtita. Many tantra scriptures speak of great and glorious transcendental mantras for worshipping the Lord as Gopala, notably the 10-syllable and 18-syllable mantras. This seed, this intellectual seed that Sri Rupa Goswami has planted here has been well cultivated in Krishna Sandarbha by Sri Jiva Goswami, because the mantras are eternal and the forms corresponding to those mantras are also eternal. So he begins with that discussion in Krishna Sandarbha, that these are Gopala mantras. That means Gopala exists. Gopala exists as Gopala eternally. Not that only Narayana exists eternally and then he periodically or temporarily takes forms like this. Not like that. Eternally there. Sarva pramanata shrestha tatha Gopala tapani swayam madhu vidhatreya prokta Gopala rupina. The best source of definitive knowledge on this subject is the Gopala Tapani Upanishad, which was spoken to Brahma by Krishna in his cowherd form at the beginning of creation. Shrutishtaiva bhavena sarveti. And this is stated in the Shruti itself. It is stated in the Shruti scriptures. Shruti refers to Rig Veda, Yajurveda, Atharvaveda, Samaveda, Shruti. Shreshtheti, Shruti Shirastva. It is because it's an Upanishad. Therefore, he refers to it as the most definitive evidence. It is the best. The Upanishads are considered to be the highest portion of the Vedas. Prabhupada compares it to a newspaper headline. You have a news article and you have a headline. The headline is short, but it's written in big font, big typeface. And that summarizes the large content. So Prabhupada says the Upanishads are like that. It is Shruti Shiras, Veda Shiras. It is the headline. Okay, these ones you will see right here. The leading Vaishnavas in the line established by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu consider Sri Gopala Tapani Upanishad the cream of revealed Vedic texts. This Upanishad describes the glories of Krishna as a young cowherd. There are a number of commentaries on Gopala Tapani. Jiva Goswami Prabhu has given a commentary. He himself refers to 2 Vedic Acharyas commentaries. One Vishveshwara and one Janardana Bhatta. I've been trying to trace Janardana Bhatta's commentary, I couldn't find it. Vishveshwara's commentary has been found. So that shows that the Gopala Tapani is authentic. It's authentically part of the Veda. That's one reason why we can say that these 2 commentaries. Then Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati, he wrote. Actually, Prabodhananda Saraswati must have written before because he was an elder. He was senior to Sri Jiva Goswami. So Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati's commentary said, Jiva Goswami refers to it. He says, apart from those 2 other commentators, Then we have proper pure commentary from Sri Prabodhananda Saraswati. Jiva Goswami himself gives a commentary. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur gave a commentary. Baladev Vidyabhushana Prabhu gave a commentary. Important. It is important. There are several different aspects to it, to the teachings conveyed by it. Tadhovacha Hairanya Vopavesham Abhrabham Tarunam Kalpadrumashritam. He said, Brahma then saw a young boy with a complexion like a rain cloud. He was dressed as a cowherd and sat in the desired tree. It is therefore not possible that this childhood appearance of the Supreme Godhead occurs only in his visible pastimes in the material world. Brahma heard the Gopala Tapani long before Krishna's avatar. Krishna's form as a young Gopal is certainly eternal. Chaturdha madhuritasya vraja eva virajate aishwarya kridayor venos tatha shri vigrahasya cha. Only in Vraja does he manifest his sweetness in 4 special ways. In his power as a controller, in his sporting, in his flute playing, and in his divine personal form. This is slightly different from the 4 types of sweetness we come across in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. His Aishwarya is also mixed with sweetness. Aishwarya, Aishwarya, his controlling power. His pastimes are mixed with sweetness, and so on. There is a book called Ragavatma Chandrika. It's a small booklet actually, and there are where he properly explains what is Raga Ragavat. It's not some great mystical thing that some of our devotees try to make it out. We will see when we come to Brihad Bhagavatamrita, we'll understand what is Raga Ragavat. Second part of Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So there also he talks about sweetness. What does sweetness mean? These 4 unique sweetnesses are the main reasons Krishna is most attractive in Gokula. Tatra Aishwaryasya Kutrapya Shruta Purvena Madhuraishwarya Rashina Sevyamano Haristatra Viharam Kurute Vraja. Regarding his controlling power, as Krishna enjoys his pastimes in Vraja, he is served by an abundance of his opulent power displayed in unprecedentedly sweet ways. Aishwarya, his supreme ruling power, can be defined as his influence. With it, he subdues the pride of Brahma and the other demigods. Yatra Padmaja Rudradyai Stuyamanopi Sadhvasad Drigantapatamapyeshu Kurute Natu Keshavaha. Thus, when Brahma, Rudra, and other demigods reverently praise Keshava and Vraja, he hardly glances at them. On one hand, he is revealing his opulence. On the other hand, his behavior is sweet. Yatha Shri Brahmande Shri Narada Vakyam Ye Daitya Dushaka Antum Chakrena Rathangina Te Tvaya Nihata Krishna Navyaya Balya Leelaya Sardham Mitrair Hare Kridan Bhrubhangam Kurushe Yadi Sashanka Brahma Rudradya Kampante Hastitas Tada Iti. As Shri Narada Deva says in Shri Brahmanda Purana, O Krishna, for demons difficult to kill, the disc wielder Vishnu had to use a Sudarshan disc. You, however, easily struck down such demons as part of your innocent childhood pastimes. If you knitted your brow while playing with your friends or Hari, then Brahma, Rudra, and others present in the heavens trembled with apprehension. Narada indirectly implies that Krishna is the Lord of Dwaraka, armed with the Sudarshan disc, could not kill demons as easily as he did as a child in Vraja. Krishna in Dwaraka also politely respected the demigods when they visited him. But in Vraja, they could not distract him from playing with his friends because he is so attracted to the pure devotional service of his friends. This should not be misunderstood. Let's see. This is all taken from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's description of the 5 Bhakti Rasas in his teachings to Rup Sanatan, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Madhya Lila. Lord Chaitanya makes certain observations which are very significant. He begins by talking about what Shanta Rasa is. He says in Shanta Rasa there are 2 features. One is that one has no thirst for bhakti or mukti. One does not have any thirst for any form of enjoyment, personal enjoyment, nor does he hanker for any of the 5 types of liberation. And his consciousness is focused on Krishna, Krishna Nishtha. These 2 features are there in Shanta, on the Shanta platform. Shanta Prema. In Dasya Prema, you have one additional feature. One wants to actively serve Krishna. Sakhya, additional feature. He considers that Krishna is mine. He has a sense of possessiveness towards Krishna. But notice that he has a sense of possessiveness towards Krishna, but he also has these 2 features of Trishna Tyaga and Krishna Nishtha. If we are filled with desires for bhakti, mukti, and our consciousness is not exclusively fixed on the Supreme Lord, and we try to be possessive, it is an offense. So you don't have a situation where this is no, this is no, this is yes, and this is yes. That's not allowed. That's not allowed. You don't have the right to do that. It has to be yes, 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 yes. Only then it's a Vatsalya. Krishna Tyaga, Krishna Nishtha, Sevana, Mamata, Palana. There is a sense that I must take care of Krishna. Otherwise, Krishna cannot exist. But it is preceded with these features. If I don't have these features and I only want to take care of Krishna, it is a terrible offense. Terrible offense. It's not an ordinary offense, a terrible offense. Madhurya, Swakiya, Parakiya, 2 types. Swakiya, you have these features so far, and the particular devotee, the female form. Swakiya means a wife. She gives her body to the Lord in service. That can only be done provided each of the other features are there. Otherwise, it's an offense. That is why Madhvacharya in one place he writes that it is an offense for an ordinary lady to desire to become Krishna's wife. It's a very great offense, because he is talking about those who don't have these features, they just want to marry. That is an offense. Certainly, that's an offense. So when you're building a building, first you need to have foundation, then the first floor, then ground floor, then first floor. One by one you need to build. So certainly there is a hierarchy. We know some of the buildings are 5 stories, some are 4 stories, 3 stories, but each one is built on top. Each story is built on top of each other. In Parakiya Madhurya Bhakti, all of these features are there. And on top of it, there is the concept that I'm not married to him. But all the features are there. The ladies in Gokula, they simply think that they are not married to him, but they do everything a wife does. And Krishna also takes care of them. But he's created an environment where he's not their married wife. It's thrilling. Bhaktivinoda writes in his Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati writes in his commentary to Brahma Samhita. It's just Yogamaya creates that for a thrill, break a rule. Krishna alone can do that. Parakiya Bhav. It's not Parakiya Sambandha. It's Parakiya Bhav. Only a Bhav, not a Sambandha. They don't have illicit relations. It's not that they're having some husbands other than Krishna and enjoying with them and enjoying with Krishna. That is the parakya of this world. That's parakya sambandha. It is having an illicit relationship. Here, it's not like that. The parakya bhava. It's only an attitude. Only an attitude. So Krishna was so enamored with his friends because they had all of these features. All of these features. Kridaya yatha padme garitam Krishnadevasya sarvam evadbhutam bhavet Gopala Leela tatrapi sarvatoti manohara. Krishna's sporting is described in the Padma Purana. All the activities of Sri Krishna Deva are very wonderful. But most extremely charming of these, however, are his pastimes as a cowherd. In his Gopala Leela, Krishna, the cowherd boy, enjoys the company of both cowherd boys and girls. Sage Panini considers that masculine nouns like Gopala can refer to males and females due to the role known as Ekashesha, by which one word can represent several. For example, Pitaru literally means two fathers, but as an Ekashesha form, it means father and mother. This rule in Panini's grammar textbook, is stated as Puman Striya. So when it is stated that Krishna is a Gopala, it means he is a protector of the cows. It also indicates that he is surrounded by Gopas and Gopis. Krishna's Gopala Leela is the most excellent of all his pastimes, even more wonderful than his activities in Mathura city and Dwaraka. So Gopala, yes, okay. Shri Brihadvamane Santi Yadyapi me Prajya Leela sta manohara nahi jane smrite rase mano me kidrisham bhavediti. And in Shri Brihadvamana Purana, although all my countless pastimes enchant me, I do not know what happens to my mind when I recollect my Rasa Leela. Among his many supremely attractive pastimes, Krishna alludes here to the enchanting episode of his mother punishing him by tying his abdomen with ropes. So even though there are many pastimes that I engage in, Damodar pastime and so on, I'm most attracted to this particular pastime. Wait. Yes. Now, why is Krishna so attracted to the Rasa Leela? That is because he's reciprocating with his devotees here. It is not that, oh, because they are gopis, therefore he likes them. It's not like that. It's because of the higher intensity of their prema bhakti. Krishna reciprocates according to the intensity of prema bhakti. Is a general principle. There are more to it, but things will become clear by itself, by themselves. Venor yatha yavati nikhile loke nadanam asti madhuri tavati vamshika nada paramanam nimajjati. It's good line. Whatever combined sweetness can be found in all the sounds of the universe disappears into the sweetness of the smallest hint of a vibration from Krishna's flute. Charasthavara yosandra paramananda magnayo bhave dharma viparyaso yasmin dhavanati yasmin dhvanati mohane. Krishna's entrancing flute playing submerges the moving and non-moving beings in the most intense elevated bliss, causing them to exchange their natures. Mohana kopi mantro va padartho va bhutah parah shruti peyu yam ityukva yatra muhyat shivadayaha. Hearing the flute, Shiva and others became bewildered and said, is this an entrancing mantra or an amazing beverage meant to be drunk with the ears? Yatha Shridashame, for instance, in the 10th canto. Vividha gopa charaneshu vidagdho venu vadya urdhani jashiksha tava sudarsati yadadhara bimbe dabda venu ranayat swarajati savanashas taddupadharya suresha shakra sharva parameshti puroga kavaya anata kandhara chitta kashmalam yayur anishchita tattva iti. Krishna's young gopi damsels speaking. The 10th canto states, O pious Mother Yashoda, your son, who is expert in all the arts of herding cows, has invented many styles of flute playing. When he takes his flute to his bimber-red lips and sends forth the tones of the harmonic scale in variegated melodies, Brahma, Shiva, Indra, and other chief demigods become confused upon hearing the sound. Although they are the most learned authorities, they cannot ascertain the essence of that music, and thus they go down their heads and hearts. It's not that, as Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti explains in Raghavarma Chandrika, Krishna's associates in his Raja Leela, we go on hearing that they don't know that Krishna is God. The meaning of that should be carefully understood. It is not that they don't know that Krishna is God in the literal sense. Like here, they know that Krishna is the Lord of the demigods and all that. But that knowledge is a kind of very superficial knowledge. It's not a serious knowledge. Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says that their hearts don't tremble. They're not frightened. They're not. When we talk about knowledge of the Supreme Lord, it is that kind of knowledge which produces these kind of effects, like in Vaikuntha. They're frightened of him. They're frightened of, there is an element of fear. Even in Sri Ramanuja's, one of his prayers, he has written 3 prayers in prose, where he is talking about how a devotee can attain Vaikuntha. He says, finally, when you are in Vaikuntha, when you serve the Lord, with fear you should serve the Lord. With fear, you must have fear. So that Hritkampa, that trembling of the heart and bhiti, fear and all that, these things don't. So this is not that kind of knowledge. But one should not think that we don't know anything at all. In fact, in one of the songs in Gopi Geet also it comes. Akhila Dekhinam Antaratmadrik. We know that you are the super soul of all embodied souls. So they know, the young gopis, they know. So the young gopis themselves, they know. They are most in Yogamaya. Then obviously everybody else knows. Those in Vatsalya Prema, those in Sakya Prema. But they don't care. And they are not caring for it is what is known as they don't know. This is pointed out. This is pointed out both by Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti and by Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan also. Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan mentions this in Bhashya Pitaka, also known as Siddhanta Ratna. But Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti brings it up in Raghavarma Chandrika. So it's a special type of knowledge. It's Madhurya Jnana, in fact. It is sweet knowledge of sweetness. So they know, but they, for all practical purposes, they don't know. They don't consider. They all relate to Krishna fully in Prema Bhakti. And that is exactly what Krishna wants from them. He is most enamored by them. This verse was spoken by the young gopis of Braja. The musical scale contains only 7 simple notes, Nishada, Rishabha, and so on. Sarve, Gama, Padha, Ni. But when Krishna artistically combines them in the song of his flute, the sound astounds the great demigods, forgetting everything they know about the absolute truth from Vedanta philosophy. They wonder why the Supreme they had previously understood as pure Sachidananda has now transformed into the form of a song. They bow their heads and minds in the direction of the sound. Such special sweetness of the flute, Venu Madhurya, is not found in the pastimes of the Lord of Dwaraka. So what to speak of in other pastimes? This is all coming from Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan. एकविंशे तथा पंचत्रिंशे च अध्याय ईदिता माधुरी व्रज देवी भीर वेणोरेव महाधुता. The young goddesses of Vraja have glorified the most amazing sweetness of Krishna's flute in the 21st and 35th chapters of the 10th canto. Shri Vigrahasya Yatha Asamaordhamadhurya Tarangamrita Varidhihi Jangamasthavarolasi Rupo Gopendra Nandanaha. Krishna's divine form. The beauty of the son of the cowherd king delights all moving and non-moving creatures. That beauty is an ocean of immortal nectar filled with waves of unequaled and unexcelled charm. Yatha Tantre, as stated in the Tantra, Kandar Prakotya Budarupa Shobha Nirajya Padabja Nakhanta Lasya Putrapya Drishta Shvataramya Kanter Dhyanam Param Nanda Sutasya Vakshye, as stated in the Tantra. I will now describe the supreme meditation of the son of Nanda. The tips of the nails of his lotus feet are worshipped by the splendor of millions and billions of cupids. His all attractive charms have never been seen or heard of anywhere else. Gopala Krishna's unique charm is not rivaled even by Krishna himself in Mathura and Dwaraka. That is, the same Krishna is not as supremely attractive away from the environment of Vraja in the company of the Vrajavasis. We are talking of Vraja Leela and the associates of Lord Krishna in Prema Bhakti inside Vraja Leela. In the words of Srimad Bhagavatam describing Krishna with the gopis in the Rasa dance, Tatrati Shushubhe Tabhir Bhagavan Devaki Sutaha. There, together with those women, the Supreme Personality of God and the son of Devaki appeared in his most glorious feature. Ati Shushubhe. Sakshan Manmatha Manmatha. Directly, the Cupid for Cupid. So attractive, so beautiful. That is because he was surrounded by the young gopis in Prema Bhakti. So as I pointed out, not only is there purity, but that's also the intensity of Prema Bhakti, which causes the Lord to reveal himself more and more. Yadyapi Saeva Krishna, even though it is the same Krishna, he is the same Krishna in other places also, Mathura, Dwaraka, and so on. Tadrisha Sthana Parikara Abhava, because in those places he does not have those kinds of environments and associates. Tadrupam na ullasati. Therefore, the Swayam Bhagavan's form does not shine with all of his glory then. But in Vraja, he does shine. Shri Dashamecha Kastyangate Kalapadamrutavena Gita Sammohitarya Charitanna Chalet Lokyam Trailokya Saubhagam Idam Chaniriksha Rupam Yadgod Vijat Drumam Mriga Ulakanya Vibhran Iti. It is also said in the 10th canto, dear Krishna, what woman in all three worlds wouldn't deviate from religious behavior when bewildered by the nectarian melody of your flute? Your beauty makes all three worlds auspicious. Indeed, even the cows, birds, trees, and deer manifest the ecstatic symptom of bodily hair standing on end when they see your beautiful form. Krishna called the gopis with his flute song to come dance with him in the middle of the night. But when they arrived, he pretended that he had no interest in enjoying with them. They responded with these words. As mentioned above, even stalwart demigods like Shiva and Indra are confused when they hear Krishna's flute song. How then can simple women who hear it be expected to retain their composure and remember their duties as respectable wives and mothers? And now that they actually see Krishna face to face, all hope of following their religious principles is lost forever. No one can fault them for accepting Krishna as their Lord. This is an instance of their parakya bhava, attitude. Only in attitude there. But none of them are unchaste. They're exclusively fixed on Krishna. They're not related to anyone else. That's why in Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his commentary to Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, refers to Jatila as the so-called mother-in-law, or the one who thinks herself to be Radharani's mother-in-law, or he refers to Abhimanyu as the one who thinks himself to be Radharani's husband. Atim Manyamana. Atim Manya considers himself like that, not reality in the absolute sense. But that's why Prabhupada also refers to him as a so-called husband, so-called mother-in-law, so-called sister-in-law, like that Prabhupada writes. The gopis, their point is even males such as Chakra, Sharvarayana, such as Indra and Lord Shiva, even they are agitated by Krishna's qualities. So what to speak of women like us? Okay, I'll stop with that. Then Mr. Uttarakhanda. When it comes to this, I think it's my duty to also point out, I might have mentioned it earlier, Srila Jiva Goswami has clearly noted that those who are sexually aroused by coming across Krishna's descriptions of Krishna's conjugal pastimes should keep away from it. Bhakti Sandarbha, I can send the quote in case I might have sent the quote already, but in case I haven't, somebody can remind me. I can post it in the Telegram group. Okay. One will be from the next session. Let's start with that. Any questions? If you have any, first of all, look at. Can you please share the 5 Bhakti Rasas chart with us? Okay, wait before that. Okay, I should do it in the Telegram group. I will put it up. This is Namashaya Bhakti. I should be able to do that. Any? Okay, just 1 minute. Leela Madhuri Lalita Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavat Pranam. Prabhu, I heard that Srimati Radharani's husband is none other than Krishna himself, his shadow. So, how to take the other gopis' husband, because they were also taking part in Ras Leela and they were also having that parakya bhava.
It has been created just for just to nourish Krishna's pastimes. There's no tangible reality in the spiritual world. You should read Brahma Samhita, that verse, Ananda Chinmaya Rasa Pratibhavitapis. And there's a very elaborate purport by Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. You read that carefully. It'll be very clear. It's just a concept that they are not married to Krishna. If you carefully think about it, if I remember correctly, there or somewhere else, I remember that maybe Sri Jiva Goswami, I don't remember, but like in Vaikuntha, for instance, Lakshmi Narayana, they're husband and wife. But was there a point in time when they were not married? No, always husband and wife. Always husband and wife. So what does that mean? It's that they consider each other husband and wife. Abhiman. Not in the sense of pride and so on, but the conception is the conception, the attitude. But when the Lord appears in this world, he performs activities which are in line with certain conceptions. So here the Lord marries. For instance, Bhaktivinoda Thakur gives this example. Krishna is Yashoda's child. In Goloka Vrindavan also, Krishna is Yashoda's child. And was there any point in time when Krishna was born to Yashoda? No. But Yashoda considers Krishna her child, and Krishna considers Yashoda to be her child, and everyone there considers Krishna to be Yashoda's child. This is called conception. It's just an attitude. Similarly, in Dwaraka, in the spiritual world, Rukmini Devi is there, Satyabhama Devi is there, various other queens are there. They're all his wives. What does that mean? At one particular point in time, they were married, before which they were not married. In Dwaraka, in the spiritual world? No. Always like that. Is there anything wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that. So likewise, in Goloka Vrindavan, there are these young gopis who think they are not married to Krishna, and Krishna also thinks he's not married to them, and Krishna has made everyone think that they are not married to him. Conception, that's all. Not that they are actually having some husband and they unchastely are relating to Krishna. There's no parakya sambandha. Read that book. Very, very, very carefully you read it. Very nice book. Just give me 1 minute. Let me just okay. Posted on question answers on Namashaya Bhakti Telegram forum. Prem Gosundar.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat. Prabhuji, in text 519, the purport, last line it says, in Gokula, time seems to pass in the same order found in the material world. But we also find that in Gokula, the children also grow older. Krishna was young, I mean, the child, a baby, and then became elder and all that. And we also hear that Krishna never grows beyond certain age, like maybe 16 years and 2 months, and Radharani doesn't grow more than 14 years or 2 months, something like that. So how do we understand both of this together? It's a little confusing.
What is confusing?
Time seems to pass in the same order as found in the material world, but they never grow older than 16 years or 14
except
years.
For that one feature. Except for that one feature. But if you see like that, the demigods, they're also young. For vast majority of their time, they're young. Demigod. The demigods, they're all young. They're generally young only. They're generally young. So it is understood that when the Lord appears, and it's not only with Krishna in Gokula, everywhere Krishna is like that. He comes as a Ram, he's young. When he comes as Narayana also, he's young. He's always Nitya Kishore, his Nitya Kishore nature. That is common to all Vishnu Tattvas. That is not a unique feature of Swayam Bhagavan Krishna.
So then does the same thing happen to Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda also? I mean, they also don't grow older, or what do you have?
Oh, you can see a description of Nanda Maharaj in Nectar Golden. He has a beard. He's old.
So then
Yes.
we can say it happens only for Krishna and his associates, or what is confusing? You can't understand.
No, what is confusing? I'm not able to understand.
No, you said that Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, they grow older, but Krishna and some of his associates, they don't grow old.
Yes.
So that means it is selective, only for certain characters it happens, not for all characters.
That is also common to all incarnations of the Lord. no? That is also common to all incarnations of the Lord. So
I was
based on
thinking, really whether Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda grow older, or they also come up to certain age and remain the same age.
oh, look, this is all getting too much. I don't want to speculate on these kind of things. These kind of things are meant to be realized. That's all. They're giving us a sneak preview. So with this information, when we chant Hare Krishna increasingly and with purity, and we surrender to the instructions of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Nityananda Prabhu, and the acharyas following them under the guidance of more advanced devotees and our spiritual masters, we should make progress. When we make progress, more and more things are revealed to us. Like this, there are hundreds and thousands of questions you can come up with. Why it is like, why it is like, so hundreds of things are there.
The other point was that in the 525 text 525, in the commentary it's clearly said that Brahma actually saw Krishna as a cowherd boy, and Krishna revealed his cowherd boy form to Brahma, and that was well before Krishna Avtara descended. But we also find that Brahma gets bewildered when he sees again Krishna as a cowherd boy playing with his friends,
Yes.
despite having the knowledge that that cowherd boy is Krishna and he's the Supreme
Yeah,
Personality.
it's by Yoga Maya. That's why Brahma got bewildered.
So at that
First of
point,
all,
in
Brahma
time-
sees Krishna like this every day. Every day Krishna appears. Every day Krishna appears. So whenever Krishna wants to put someone in Yoga Maya and make him into a laughing stock, the pure devotee agrees to be a laughing stock also.
And Prabhuji, one more thing you mentioned, that in the 4 qualities which are mentioned in text 526, there is Aishwarya Bhav also mixed. So apparently only the power as a controller is Aishwarya, right? The other 3 are Leela Madhurya and Venu Madhurya and Rup
In
Madhurya.
Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, what are the 4 we get?
Prem Madhurya, Leela Madhurya, Venu Madhurya, and
Rupa Madhurya.
Rup Madhurya. So only Prem Madhurya is missing here. Instead of that, power as controller is there.
Aishwarya
Apparently.
Madhurya. Aishwarya Madhurya is there.
Aishwarya Madhurya. So his Aishwarya is also considered to be sweet, right?
Yeah, that's a very interesting thing. Here, Krishna's Aishwarya is also mixed with his sweetness. Sweetness means his innocence. Like in Raghavatma Chandrika, Krishna Chakravarti gives some examples. Krishna is a small baby. He's below a cart, and he just kicks that cart with his soft toes. And then a whole demon dies. Utana. She dies just. And Krishna doesn't assume a big, terrible form. He doesn't take some arrow, bow. He doesn't take some sword. He doesn't do all these things. So then you see, so sweetness. At the same time, you find Aishwarya. So even when Swayam Bhagavan exhibits his Aishwarya, he does not never loses his Aishwarya. Supreme Lord cannot lose his Aishwarya. How can the Lord not be the Lord? He is always the Lord. But when he engages in his pastimes in Gokula, it is always mixed with sweetness. Always it is mixed with sweetness. Govardhan, lifting the Govardhan head. Krishna is displaying his opulence, but at the same time, he is having so many loving interactions with all the Vrajavasis together, all at the same time. This Aishwarya is mixed with his Madhurya. He opens his mouth when Yashoda Devi asks, "What are you eating?" He opens his mouth. So he's still a small child. He didn't become some big universal form like in Bhagavad Gita. Small child opens a small mouth. But inside that, Yashoda sees everything. She sees the entire universe and she sees herself seeing Krishna. That also she sees. It is just beyond our ability to even start to imagine how Krishna exhibits his opulences. His opulences are always there. Not that it's never there. It's always there. It's not that Krishna's opulences are not there. There's a misconception there. In Swayam Bhagavan Krishna in Vraja pastimes, his opulences are not there. Actually, he's much more opulent than Narayana in Vaikuntha. But he is much more sweet than his opulent. His sweetness is greater than his opulence, which is greater than Narayana's opulence in Vaikuntha. Aishwarya Kadambini. It's a booklet by Sri Baladev Vidyabhushan on the Aishwarya of Krishna's childhood pastimes. That aspect should not be forgotten there. Because Krishna is superior in Swayam Bhagavan is manifesting more qualities than his expansions. More qualities means all the qualities that he exhibits in his expansions are also exhibited by Krishna in Gokula. It's not that he doesn't exhibit. Otherwise, how can you say he's more? If those qualities exhibit, let's say, 60 primary qualities, and then Gokula Krishna does not exhibit those 60 qualities, he only exhibits 4 qualities. How can 4 be greater than 60? So it is 60 plus 4 that Krishna exhibits in Gokula, Vraja Leela, and outside Krishna exhibits lesser than that.
One more last point. In text 533, what is the meaning of causing them to exchange their natures? That's not clear.
Yeah. Comes when you read Krishna book, you'll see.
No, is it given in the commentary or something?
No, this is very well known. He makes the cows, he makes the animate inanimate, he makes the animate inanimate, he makes the inanimate animate.
Oh,
okay. Opposite natures. We come across all this in when Krishna plays his flute. That is why Sri Rupa Goswami simply gives 2 numbers of 2 chapters in the 10th canto. Because this is very abundant. It's well known. You can read in Krishna book. You'll see. When he plays his flute, what happens. All right. Any other questions? If there are no questions, and if you come up with questions, you can always ask in the Telegram group. Let's continue next week. Vaishnaveभ्यो नमो नमः।